Hello and welcome back to Matthew's Tottenham blog and today's match preview for tomorrow's North London derby against Arsenal. Today I'm going to be going through my predicted lineup, kind of what I'm expecting from the game, and also touching on Mauricio Pochettino's press conference on Friday ahead of this game. So before I get started, if you want more content like this plus interactive live streams, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button just below the video and click the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload. So I'm going to start with my predicted lineup, and as I said in my team news video yesterday, there are a couple of players that we are missing. Kyle Walker-Peters, Tanguy Ndombele, Ryan Sessegnon, Juan Foyth and Eric Dyer are all out for this game, while Dele Alli faces a late fitness test. From what Pochettino said, I think that's going to be later on today. But there was nothing in the official team news from the club, so I'm pretty confident he will be involved in the game. So again, going to be Hugo Lloris in goal. There's no real debate there. Now, I'm a bit concerned, a bit confused about what formation we're actually going to go with in this game, because there is no recognised right back who we think will be involved in the squad. Serge Aurier's future still seems to be all over the place, and I'm not sure if he will be involved. But I don't think we can afford to go with the three at the back against Arsenal's amazing front three of Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe, who I do think will start. So I'm going to go with the four at the back. It's going to be, I'd say, Danny Rose in left back. For the centre-backs, I'd be surprised if Jan Vertonghen plays from the start. And I know I said in my video yesterday, I feel like he does have to, but given he hasn't played a full game since the Champions League final, I think it'd be really difficult to throw him right into the deep end against these players that Arsenal do have up front. And Davinson Sanchez, probably the quickest of our centre-backs, so I think he could be best equipped to try and deal with them. So I'm going to go with Sanchez and Alderweireld in centre-back. And in right-back, it's really hard to decide, because I think if it is Sissoko, given that we're already missing the likes of Ndombele and Eric Dyer in the middle of the park, that leaves us really, really weak in the midfield. So I suppose with the players that are available, ideally we'd see Serge Aurier starting this game, and also he does have a lot more pace than some of our defenders do, so he'd be really good up against that quick Arsenal front three. Now I think again it's going to be a 4-2-3-1, because obviously missing Ndombele and Dyer, it doesn't give us much room for manoeuvring in midfield, and I think it will be Winks and Sissoko playing in those holding midfield roles. Now the front three behind the striker, look, with Pochettino it's really hard to tell who's going to be there. Of course, Ali's facing this late fitness test. Ryan Sessegnon is going to be missing the game. And as Pochettino said about Giovanni Lo Celso, he's not really at that level. He was quoted as saying in his press conference about Lo Celso, he said, if I can just find it here, he said, he's arrived in a very difficult period after taking part in the Copa America and having a long holiday. He is not in a good condition and is trying hard to be at the level of the rest of the team. I don't think he'll be involved from the start, but for sure he'll be involved in the game. He's in a similar position to Ryan Sessegnon. I'm happy with him, but they need time to adapt to work and to know their teammates. The adaptation is not easy, and we want to say it could take a while. So it doesn't look like Lo Celso will be starting this game. I imagine we will see Heung-min Son from the start. If Christian Eriksen isn't back in the team, I think there'll be a lot of questions asked, and it does seem as though his future is going to be, at least his short-term future, will be at Tottenham, because Pochettino yesterday in his press conference looked a lot more comfortable, a lot happier, and I imagine that is because some of the problems behind the scenes have been maybe not solved but improved, and I do think Christian Eriksen's future will be one of those. So I think we will see Christian Eriksen, and unfortunately I think Lamela will drop out from the team. He, along with everyone, was really poor against Newcastle, but in the first two games of the season Lamela was probably one of our better players. But I think Pochettino will opt for Lucas Moura in this game tomorrow, and then of course Harry Kane up front, and that does give us a really strong bench to work with, because we'll have players like Eric Lamela, Lo Celso hopefully, maybe even Dele Alli on the bench. And I think that attacking threat on the bench coming onto the pitch late on is something that we've lacked quite a bit over the last season or two. And it's good now that with these players starting to go back into the first team, starting to be back fit, we are seeing a lot more strength in the attacking areas off the bench. Now, Arsenal, they haven't had the best start to the season. They won their first two games against Newcastle and I think Burnley. They were victories that they just about managed to get out, and then they lost 3-1 to Liverpool. And I think in that game against Liverpool, they showed their weaknesses, kind of what we already knew. They're really, really poor defensively, and that's something that we need to try and exploit, because that front three that they have when you combine it with kind of the form that our defence is in, it's a really kind of daunting thing that we're going to be facing. And Davinson Sanchez will probably be someone that they're looking to target after seeing his mistakes against Aston Villa and Newcastle. But interestingly, also in Pochettino's conference yesterday, he was asked about Davinson Sanchez. I think he was asked about the mistake against Newcastle, and Pochettino said he didn't make a mistake against Newcastle. I'm happy with his commitment and performance, but like the team, he needs to improve in his performance to be more consistent. So I know the fans are definitely looking at Sanchez as probably one of the weakest links in our team this season so far, and we're kind of not happy with his performances, and we are looking to get Vertonghen back in the team. but Mauricio Pochettino was certainly happy with his performances so far. And I know that could be him just trying to stand up for his player. And even said it to the journalist that asked the question. He said, do you think you know football better than me? And he was getting a bit, he even said, you criticising a player is a thing that I don't like. So he was quick to kind of snap back at the journalist saying, I'd rather you didn't criticise my players like that. But Pochettino certainly emphasising that he was happy with Sanchez's performance so far. But I think that's not entirely true. I'm sure has some problems with the mistakes that Sanchez has been making, especially in that relationship with Rose, where there does seem to be a bit of disconnect out in the pitch. So that is something Arsenal will be looking to target, but we can certainly do the same thing at the other end of the pitch with Kieran Tierney still out injured and David Luiz showing his vulnerability in that game against Liverpool, especially when he was up against the pace of players like Mohamed Salah. And even last season when we played Chelsea at Wembley, he was caught out by Heung-min Son a couple of times. So certainly someone that we could target. And with that defensive pairing that they have, it's obviously it's a new pairing with David Luiz in there, and I think it's Socrates who's played most of their games so far. There's going to be, again, a lack of chemistry in there that we can try and exploit. And obviously Harry Kane will be our main man up there, but with the rotation of the front three behind him, and even if we can get Dele Alli on for the last half an hour, his late runs into the box will cause problems for Arsenal as well. So I think this is certainly a game that will go right down to the last couple of minutes. And someone like Dele Alli could be there to make the difference. So there's certainly a couple of areas we could exploit Arsenal. But I do think this game, as I said, because both defences are so weak, both attacks are so strong, this game could be won in the midfield. And missing Tanguy Ndombele is a massive blow for us, because we saw it against Newcastle, just how much we missed him. And Winks and Sissoko, while last season they were an amazing midfield pairing, and they were essentially the ones that got us back into the top four, or got us into the top four again and kept us all the way to that Champions League final. They've looked really weak against Newcastle. I think we showed already how much we missed Ndombele, so I would be a bit worried about them. But Unai Emery seems to be rotating his midfield quite a bit this season, and I've seen a few Arsenal fans with their predicted lineups saying they can see someone like Joe Willock starting this game. And if he does, even though he has done well for them this season, and obviously he's a player who's good enough to be there because he's in that team, I think he's someone that we could also try and target. But Arsenal certainly do have a lot of choices in that midfield area, because they have players like Matteo Guendouzi, Granit Xhaka, Lucas Torreira. It could be anyone that turns up in that midfield, but all of those players I do think have their weaknesses. Guendouzi, a young, inexperienced player. Granit Xhaka is very rash. He's not always the best on the ball. And Lucas Torreira, he's a very, very good player. He's a similar player to N'Golo Kante, but certainly not at that level. But also he does seem to be inconsistent at times. So I think if we can win that midfield battle, which I think we can, we'd be in a very, very good position to go on and win the game. Now, having said that, I do think we're really going to struggle. We saw kind of with that performance last week that there does seem to be some things going on behind the scenes. And even though I can say from Pochettino's press conference, it does look as though the mood in the camp is a bit happier, I think it's going to be very hard, even with that, to kind of come straight back from that performance against Newcastle. And Pochettino did say in a game like this, recent performances don't matter. It doesn't matter what we've done so far this season. It's a derby. We need to go out and win it, and the players will be hungry to go out and get that victory. But it's going to be really hard to bounce back from a performance like that. And I do think Arsenal will probably be the favourites going into this game. A lot of people have predicted that they will win it. I know Paul Merson said a 4-1, which when he said that at the time, I could kind of see where he's coming from. But I think there is a bit of a different mood in the camp now. And as Pochettino said, it's a derby. Form goes out the window. This is a game that any team can win. So look, my prediction would probably be realistically a draw, maybe a 1-1 or a 2-2, which we'd take. I mean, because if you go to any of the top teams away from home, a draw is always a good result. That one against Man City, obviously the best that we could have done. Now I'd probably be happier with a similar result against Arsenal, but we know with the players that we do have, with the team that we have, we can go and we can beat anyone anywhere. So if we do show up, we certainly have a chance of beating Arsenal, but we know how much they like playing us, especially at the Emirates Stadium. They beat us 4-2 there last season, and we did beat them there in the Cup, but they were kind of rotated squad, so you can't look into that too much. But there were a lot of rumours during the week that Pochettino would be quitting the club after this game, regardless of the result. And Pochettino certainly didn't leave anything to the imagination. He didn't speak in riddles like he usually does when he was answering questions about that. First of all, he was asked about kind of the players of the club and the fact that the European window is still open. And he said in the last week or so he has spoken to all of the players and to Daniel Levy, and he hasn't heard anything with regards to bids for these players or any players who could be leaving the club. I imagine there are a few exceptions there that he just kind of decided to stray away from, which would be mainly Victor Wanyama. He was asked about Christian Eriksen's Instagram post when he said he loves European away days, and posted the Tottenham group saying, "Come on, you Spurs." And Pochettino said if it's a bit dangerous to read too much into social media posts, but he did emphasise that wasn't particularly on about the Christian Eriksen situation, which would probably suggest that Eriksen will be at the club at the end of that European window deadline. Now then, about the claims Pochettino would be quitting the club after the derby, he said straight out it's a stupid rumour. He said they've worked so hard over the summer to try and rebuild and update the squad. A direct quote is, "This stupidity can only happen through some rumour sent into social media that creates a big problem that doesn't exist." And he said it in no uncertain terms, "I am not going to walk away after the North London derby. He's not going to be leaving the club," which is something that he hasn't really done too much in the past. He always seems to say, like, right now in this moment I'm happy, but my mind might change tomorrow. But he has said he's not going to walk away from the club. And he went on to talk about his relationship with Daniel Levy. He was asked some question about his reaction to the Champions League, or it was actually Eric Cantona's speech at that Champions League awards thing, the very strange one. And he said he couldn't understand it because the English was a bit too advanced for him, and he wanted to look back at it. But he was actually with Daniel Levy at dinner last night, on Thursday night, and he said they had very positive talks. They spoke last week as well, and they're going to speak next week, and there are very positive talks between them. And even though at times their professional vision is different and they do have some disagreements professionally, he said their personal relationship has never changed. They're still great friends. And he was asked with regards to that Cantona speech about living for eternity. Someone said to him, "Would you stay at Tottenham for eternity if given the chance?" And he said, "You know how complicated it is to be in a high professional level like us for a long period." And he's talking about the version 6.0 of Pochettino going into the sixth year. And he said this version 6.0 of Pochettino is starting. And when I signed for Tottenham, it wasn't in his head to kind of be at the club this long. He said it was only a dream that he would still be there in 6 years' time. And he said he doesn't know if it's a real objective to say he would stay there for eternity if given the chance. He said Tottenham is so unbelievable. It's amazing when you see Tottenham from outside. One of the best training grounds in the world, one of the best stadiums, and certainly one of the best fan bases in the world. And he went on to say, "I hope that I can extend my life here. That is going to be good for us and the club. But in the end, it's in the hands of the players, and the final decision is Daniel's." So he certainly kind of dispelled those rumours about him leaving the club soon. He said he's happy there. Even though it is for now, that's kind of what we wanted to hear, because I am someone who tries to stay optimistic about Tottenham all the time. But I was certainly starting to get a bit worried that he may be looking to leave the club very, very soon, because he has been so unhappy. But in that press conference yesterday, it was back to that happy, joking, laughing Pochettino that we've been used to in the last couple of years. And there's a few other little jokes he made about that journalist who asked him about leaving the club. He said, "If you did bet the market's so close, you've lost all your money." And he said, another one asked him if he would have liked to have managed any Arsenal player past or present, or if he'd like to play with them. And he said he wished he could have played against one, Paul Merson, so that he could kick him. And it's a nice little joke that we haven't heard from him in quite a while, because he's been in such a poor mood. And even when these questions are asked about the transfer window and stuff like that, recently he has been quick to kind of criticise the journalists and snap back and complain that these questions are being asked. But he answered them all yesterday, and he's certainly the Pochettino that we've come to love at the club. So I want you to leave down in the comments below your opinions on this game tomorrow and how you think it's going to go. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more content like this. Thanks for watching.